Perfect. So the title of my presentation is The Bug of the Future. And in the original, and I think in the abstract, I didn't put a question mark on it. But while doing the presentation yesterday, I was kind of aware that maybe a question mark should be really, really important at this point to place. So I'm going to talk to you about textile production, traditional crafts for producing textile, and how they can be actually used for achieving high levels of circular economy and sustainability within a field that's actually considered to be one of the main pollutants and negative factors for climate change. So, I mean, it's not a new topic in that sense, and already for years, we've known that, and I have a problem with moving my, just give me a second, here it goes. We are kind of pretty much all aware of what is the ecological issue when it comes to textile production and fashion industry. But I kind of decided to sort of take the four, for me, most important elements that make it difficult. From one side is the use of synthetic materials that were there made in order to sort of replace the natural fiber, making it more accessible and, generally more accessible to everyone once upon a time, but somehow with a concept of fast fashion and high consumer culture, we came to the point that we produce a lot of synthetic materials that are actually not fully biodegradable. But we will talk about that as well a bit later on, or maybe during the questions, because there are now certain really high scientific breakthroughs saying that bacteria can actually dissolve the synthetic materials in the process of making bioplastic or biopigment. The second really big thing is a really low level of using the textile waste from natural fibers as well, because it can actually be used as a really good stock base for growing different and alternative materials for packaging or for dyeing or for, like replacing plastic and styrofoam or something like that. The third really big thing, and I think that's really important as well, is sort of a high level of stigmatization that kind of is related towards practices that can or would be considered as sustainable in certain parts of the world. But for the third world countries or for the global south, the idea of reusing, recycling, upcycling the old material is considered to be connected to being poor, to put it simply. And the third, maybe fourth, really relevant thing is that generally societies do not have enough information of current developments of new materials and how can we actually enter into more circular modes of production that would actually be based on textile waste. So far, maybe the most vocal advocates for the cancel culture regarding fashion industry actually comes in a really radical shape, is that we are considering that we need to sort of take down the production, which usually means that we need to reduce the number of, for example, animals that are used for producing textile fibers. So like in past 5 years in New Zealand, the number of livestock per person that used to be 12 sheep per person in New Zealand is reduced to 5. And I say this is a radical approach because it kind of does play a lot on the idea of ecofascism in a sense. And then you can as well ask who produces more carbon footprint by breathing, people or animals. And I'm afraid that those type of radical approaches can end up somewhere where we don't want them to be. But as a response to those type of things, and we have like a whole new movement or actually interdisciplinary education to start with, that brings a new category of people to the market that actually have a cross section between the product design and some type of molecular biology or chemistry, making them sort of a perfect player in deciding and making something new, or seeing how can we make the current situation be more reasonable, more sustainable, and as well, how can we base it on practices that we do know and know how to practice locally. And one, I mean, well, let's say this is coming to maybe informing, because this is something that is as well was really a huge breakthrough for me. For example, that in Serbia alone, there is at least 7 startup companies that are producing natural solutions or natural substitutes for high pollutants, such plastic or styrofoam. So you have from one side the material biosporin, and from the other material sphericon, that are actually developed by students at the Faculty of Applied Arts through their subject of material development. They are already like startup companies trying to make a breakthrough into the market with their replacements. But one thing that usually kind of comes as a problem is that in Serbia, if nothing else, there is really low level of industrial production. So they cannot actually implement and try their materials on a larger market. But what we are gonna, that I promise that we are gonna talk about in this paper is about the bug of the future. And this is the silkworm bug. And I mean, of course, it's not the bug from the future. It has been here since forever almost. And in China already, the silk production started, I think, 5,000 years BC as a textile manufacturing. Of course, with the creation of the Silk Road, the silkworm was brought first to Byzantine Empire, so to Asia Minor, and then it came to the European continent. And this is for you the little silkworm bug, which belongs to the family of butterflies, and that is well really important to know, because you do not kill a bug in order to use its cocoon for producing silk. Of course, it starts as a worm, and it's fed with leaves of mulberry. And for people that don't like our language speaking people, that mulberry dud. And I do think that you all know, how we feed this silkworm. And what is specific for this bug or this type of butterfly is that the period of before it transitions into a butterfly is rather long, and you can actually feed the worm as you would kind of feed a pig, So in order for a pig to be good for meat, you can do the same thing with a silkworm. And then it went in the point of transition, it goes into a cocoon, and the cocoon is later on used for producing silk thread. It's a really pretty butterfly. That's what I placed it here. It has really nice antennas. But what we use actually for production of silk is in the lower left corner. I think it's left for you as well. And this is the cocoon after it has been boiled, because the fibrion or the protein that is what that is contained in the thread, it actually hardens really quickly when it comes in contact with air. So the outer shell is rather rubbery. So you need to sort of boil it first, and then you extract this soft interior that later on is threaded into silk fiber, and then textile is produced. Silk making, has been again here as long as the use of silkworm is introduced to the world. And one, I think, important thing that I as well wrote on the slide is that for a silk bug to create cocoon that we can actually use, it takes usually up to 8 weeks. And what is specific for fibrion, so the protein contained in silk, is that it's really resistant. So it's resistant to tearing. It's rather resistant as well to fire, and it creates a lovely soft glazed surface of the material that is used. And silk making as a practice has been declared UNESCO's Intangible Cultural Heritage of Humanity in 2009, predominantly on the grounds of creation of the Silk Road, or the connection between, creating connection between far away parts of the world. So it's kind of celebrated for the start of the mobility and larger globalization movements, of course, really tiny, but still really important. In general, silk making is a practice that's, you can find it anywhere almost, because the silkworm spread it really fast, and it was, yeah, well, it reached all parts of the globe. And one thing that I think it's important to say, it's a really living practice, predominantly because of the use of silk within medical field for creating bandages and materials for caring of the wounds from silk, especially due to the glazed surface that creates less harm to the skin. And the project that I really want to talk to you about here, of course, if you want to, like if you don't know how the process of breeding silk or farming the silkworm and making silk is made, I can as well send you some links afterwards, so you can, like just simply see how it is done, because it can be done on farms, but as well it can be done in your personal space. So it can be a really small production type of a thing. And because I'm gonna talk about a German designer, actually Saxony-based designer. I was really curious as well about how come the factory or the production of silk came to Saxony as part of Germany, because it was usually dominantly it was done in Bohemia before, and then transported to Saxony. But somewhere, I think it's like 1830 something, like 1837 or 8, really high taxes on transport of silk were introduced in Germany, or the German area. And then Saxony decided to actually create the first large manufacturers of silk. And first of all, I thought, because Saxony is a region that is known, first of all, for gold and silver mining, and then for production of cobalt, or even and the cobalt blue color. And it's something that they are famous for, that they have a really distinguishedly beautiful blue color of textile. And then I thought, okay, this is something that replaced manufacturers and stuff like that, so because they closed the mines. But no, they actually have a wonderful habit that they really like silk flowers. And now you can see, like the whole palette of traditional silk flowers that they made. And then they established in Saxony, in the city of Sebnitz, they established the first silk factory, or silk flower factory. And then for that, they needed a high production of silk. They started growing mulberry trees a lot, and they are rather specific in terms of quality of the fiber the silkworm can eat, because the weather climate conditions in Saxony are not necessarily best for this type of a tree. So the tree itself is rather resistant. So the fibrion that you will get in silk is firmer, and they say of higher quality even than Asian or Chinese silk. And this is something that for me was really fun, when I actually realized that I was completely wrong in assuming why they did this. So they have just a weird habit of fake flowers. And now we're coming to the contemporary moment, actually to the year 2021, when the textile designer and scientist KimKordsa, it's not, this is transcribed again in Serbian, so it's not, the last name is not written with a K, but with a C. He started his big project of thinking of how can we recycle and reuse silk to actually create more durable materials that we produce textile with, and that we can use certain qualities of the silk proteins. And this is how they came to the process within the project of circularity, or actually, in Serbo creation it would be posvilavanja. And so of coating materials with silk based, how do you say that in English now? I barely know technical terms in Serbia, but creating a silk coat on different type of materials, and they created an entirely circular process, meaning that they take silk waste from fashion industry, they recycle it and extract fibrion by putting silk in solutants that will dissolve it, and slowly first they get sort of a caramel look-alike type of a paste, which they can later dissolve into liquid. So they create liquid silk. What is really as well, I think, fascinating within the process is that they have to sort of color code the recyclable material. So they have to collect all green silk or red silk, blue silk, purple silk, that are kind of most dominant colors, and the actual color remains within the pure like liquid silk format, which means that with the same material you actually coat and you can dye your materials. You don't like the natural fiber. After he finished the process of creating the Pru silk, they actually protected something called refib, which is the solutant that they sort of created in the end. And in 2024, he started a rather large project of trying to implement and use the product in many different ways. So here on the left side, you can see 3 types of application. One is dyeing of already made garments, so already threaded textile. One is well, pretty much is da li neko zna kako se kaže sito štampa na engleskom? Silver screen print, let's say like this. So silver screening or printing on the material with liquid silk. And the third option is actually dyeing the thread of woolen threads that will then afterwards be made into textile. So here are the sort of the 3 options of how you can do it, and what makes it, the reasons why, kind of the philosophy behind using a material of this sort for Kim is that he is trying to create woolen materials that are going to be more durable, in a sense that they will not shred, they will not change their quality in the garment, and as well to keep sort of a level of aesthetic appeal towards the garment you're actually buying. So it's sort of going to the idea that yeah, you cannot actually cancel the idea of people wanting to consume something based on their preference, but that you can actually impact their preference by applying materials that are more climate friendly, if nothing else. And he did a large series, and I chose pink because it's kind of coloring with red, but he did a series within which he used green, blue, and purple color pigments as well for creating different types of possibilities. And of course, he decided to do it on woolen materials, as wool is considered as maybe the most wasted natural fiber, because it's not fully used in other recycling options, even though it is biodegradable. It takes, I think, approximately a year for a completely natural wool textile to dissolve itself, but as well, it's something that's sort of, I think, the favorite food of bacteria such as Escherichia coli. And Escherichia coli is actually extensively used for creating nanocelluloses, different type of bioplastic, and micro or bacterial pigments that can actually be applied again in the textile industry, making it more green in a way. He started, I mean, the project is still ongoing. He only now, I think I cannot now remember the name of the largest textile producer in Saxony, but they actually signed a contract within which they are going to test and use his silk methods of dealing with wool. especially because it does give wool less of a scratchy feeling when you wear it, so it's a supplement for all the let's say synthetic fibers that were introduced in textile industry for making woolen garments a bit more appealing and comfortable to wear. And for the end, I mean, I placed here a QR code and I hope it works. If it doesn't work, then we're going to say that it's technical issues. Not that I don't know how to do it, but I did my best for it to actually work. And here on the picture, you can actually see all the possibilities or the diversity of implementations. The QR code is actually leading you to his webpage where you can actually follow what he's doing, how the project is developing. What I find fascinating about it as well is the fact that there apparently is a completely different type of education or educational models that actually now provides a completely new type of a profile that enters those type of fields. Because I mean, at least in Serbia, you cannot actually do product design and on the side be a molecular biologist. That doesn't simply happen. And it's an interesting cross-section that is occurring. And for those of you that can actually, and I'm gonna, we'll send everybody an information. I think Kim is gonna come to Belgrade to give a lecture on his work. I think in October, I saw it somewhere on Goethe Institute that he's gonna be here. And I mean, I think it's an interesting thing to hear from his own experience, because I'm now explaining everything in a really simple language because I cannot apply any other. This is how I understand the process. And for the end, here is a bit of lovely, lovely fibers, silk fibers that I recycled and created into liquid silk. And for any questions, I'm here and available. Thank you.